This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Maytag laundry center. This is the LSG 1000, and the dryer is not doing well. It's not heating up the clothes. The flame goes out a little bit too early, and this is due to the primary and secondary gas coils are getting weak. And these are a little tricky to get to on this machine. We got it unplugged, took off this front panel, and back here underneath this round burner tube is the gas valve, and sitting on top of it is the primary and secondary gas coils, and they're held in by a little bracket that's held into the gas valve by two vertical Phillips head screws that are about half an inch long, and they're coming straight down. It's kind of hard to see in this video, but they're right there, kind of dead center in the back. And what we're going to do to get to these, because it's a little awkward to reach, so we're going to pull the modular wire connectors off of the gas valves first by pulling back and kind of wiggling as you pull. And that'll help to get those out of the way. It'll give you a little bit more room. And we're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver. This is like something that we could plug in usually to a screw gun, and we're going to use a little tiny ratchet to hold it, and then using two hands, one hand, left hand's going to push the Phillips head screwdriver down into the screw, kind of get it started. Doing it mainly by feel because it's hard to see back there. And then as the left hand pushes down, pushing the driver into the screw, the right hand is going to do the ratcheting. It's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we'll be able to get these two screws off. It's a little tricky, just got to be patient. And it's good to put a strong flashlight back there so you can see a little bit better. Make sure the dryer is cool when you do this, because this burner tube, if it's been run, it's pretty hot. It could burn your hands. But the trick is to use just this small Phillips head screwdriver piece and a small ratchet, because there's just very little room back there. And using two hands, I was able to get one of those screws out. I'm going to reach in there and do the other one now. So again, I wish the video was a little bit better. You can kind of see the driver there going over to that one screw. And I'm going to use my hand to help me feel the driver going into the screw head, and then I'll push the ratchet down. I'll put in downward pressure as I spin it back and forth. I'll be able to get the screw off, and then I can take the bracket off. Once I get the bracket off, I can pull the coils off. This is the part number for the new coils. These things last about probably 8 years, and then they just get weak. They don't create a powerful magnetic field anymore, and they don't keep the valve open, so the flame doesn't stay lit long enough to really dry the clothes. And by putting these new coils in, which are essentially just electromagnets, your dryer will work really good. So I'm going to put in this first one. I took out the old one already. I'm going to reach in and just push it down onto a stem. The stem reaches up about 3/4 of an inch, and the coil just sits right on top of that stem. I want to push the coil down to where it's all the way flat against the valve body of the gas valve. And then I'll do these one at a time, and then I'll pull the next coil out and do the same thing. The bigger coil, the first one we dealt with, the spade connectors, the electrical connectors should be on the bottom, and the skinnier one, the two spade connectors should be on the top. So the bigger one, there's 3 little electrical connectors are on the bottom, and then on the skinnier one, there's 2, and you put it with the electrical connectors facing up. Here's the bracket, and I'm going to put it in. The bracket has a couple little holes on the top, and there's little plastic indexing pieces on the gas valve that fit into those holes. So I'm going to wiggle those valves around until that bracket just clicks in and sits really flat on top of the two gas valves. Once I've done that, then I'll take those Phillips head screws and I'll put them back into position. And what I'm going to do when I get the screw in by hand is I'll take the little Phillips head driver and just using my fingers, I'll spin it in as far as I can before using the ratchet. Just because it's a little bit easier to control with your fingers. Yeah, I looked online and couldn't find any videos or any text that shows how to do this procedure on this machine. And out of all the dryers I've done, this one's probably the trickiest because there's just so little room back there. But if you're patient, within about 20 minutes you'll be done. Just critical to have these smaller tools like this small ratchet, and this driver is only about an inch long. So now I've got the screws in, I'll start to use the ratchet to tighten them up. Then once you've done that, you just put the electrical connectors, the modular connectors, back onto the gas valves. And they can only go one way, you can't get it wrong. Because one of them has 2 openings and the other one has 3 openings. The one with 3 goes on the bigger gas valve, and the one with 2 goes on the thinner gas valve. And then once you've done that, when the dryer gives power to those valves, it's going to have a powerful magnetic field. It's going to keep the valve open, and you're going to get good heat, and your dryer will work great. Another reason, though, that the dryer could be cutting out is if the vent tube is obstructed. I double checked on this model. This particular one, it was doing great. But if you still have a problem, that's usually the cause. So I'm going to plug it back in. You can see the vent tube's pretty short on this one. And we're going to pick time dry, high heat, which is cotton. And then I'll turn it on and just make sure that the flame is going to last. So when you have a cold dryer and you start it up, you should see in a healthy dryer the flame would be constantly going for anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes. If it keeps cutting out early, it could be a sign of either weak gas valves, which we just replaced, or a blocked vent tube, which makes it overheat. When it overheats, the thermal high limit kicks in and shuts it off. So this one did really good. We have a healthy dryer. Hope this has helped you. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe when you get a chance.